I was going to record a video today that I was honestly kind of excited about. I think it would have been funny. The title was My Cactus Reacting to Me, reacting to the main man reacting to King J, reacting to the main man reacting to King J getting sponsored. But then some things happened. I decided to make this video instead. I did clear it with the main man first. I didn't speak to King J. I never have. I hope to someday. Cool player, plays cool characters. Big congratulations on getting sponsored. Watch those people. Subscribe to those channels instead of watching my shitty YouTube. But what I wanted to talk about in the video is the fact that a SpongeBob SquarePants party game is about to come out and have better online support than Tekken 7, which is too good. The world of fighting games, for all its flaws, manages to remain very, very funny. Now, the game in question is called something super generic like Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl or whatever. People are already calling it the Smash Killer, which I don't think it will be. I don't think it stands a chance in that regard, but it is really interesting what they are doing with it. I think people know that the game is a bit of a joke and a bit of a meme, but the developers are kind of leaning into that, and they are already advertising their fighting game as having solid rollback netcode, which is exactly what you have to do in today's landscape. It's much cleverer than, for example, making an awkward podcast where you sit around and make excuses for the fact that your netcode sucks or doesn't exist, right? The thing about this game is, like, the deeper you look into it, the funnier it becomes. I wanted to know who was making it, right? It turns out it's the people behind Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. If you haven't heard of Big Rigs, it's this funny bad racing game where you drive a truck. It's got like crazy clipping issues, spelling errors all over the place. I think James Rolfe made an entire episode on it. But the thing about the game is, like, it rides that line perfectly where you can't tell if it's intentionally bad, because they wanted to make a funny meme game or not. So it's like the perfect funny bad game in that sense. So, okay, the new Nickelodeon game is going to be a joke, right? Well, turns out that they also have a Swedish indie studio involved behind a game known as Slap City, which I've never heard about before, but it's really interesting. I've been looking deep into it. Slap City is like, I mean, as you can tell from the screenshot, a straight up Smash clone. Thing about this game is you go to Steam and it's got 10 out of 10 with over 2,000 reviews. So the people who play this game absolutely love it. It's apparently super fun and super solid, and it's very self-aware. You can play as like a big platypus, a mutant. There's a character known as Business Casual Man who has his necktie tied around his waist, so he has like a big red tie dick. So it's obviously extremely self-aware, but also like fun and engaging and solid. So the people who are making this Nickelodeon game obviously have experience making solid Smash clones before. So it's going to be really interesting to see what waves this will make in the world of fighting games. Do you think Nigel Thornberry is going to be high tier? We can only hope. I think the one big chance that they have is the fact that they have the Avatar franchise. I don't know, but I don't think this holds a candle to Nintendo. You've got Mario, the most famous video game character of all time. You've got Pokemon, I think officially the most successful multimedia franchise in the history of the planet Earth. So, I mean, even though we remember these characters from our childhoods, it's not really comparable. Also, it's TV and not video games, but I have friends like my age who were really into Avatar, who obsessed about that show, knew everything about it, and they've got some Avatar characters in the game. I think, honestly, if you wanted to make the game a little bit more highbrow and credible, make it an Avatar brawler with characters from that franchise instead of all these Nickelodeon characters. But they've gone with the Nickelodeon stuff. They've got, SpongeBob, and they've got Helga from Hey Arnold, which is kind of weird because how is she gonna fight? But there you go. It's interesting and it's funny, but I think the important thing to notice is the fact that it's being created with netcode in mind. And if these smaller developers can get that right, if this game comes out and it turns out that it's solid, I think it becomes, completely official and undeniable that the big developers who make famous fighting game franchises for a living have no excuse anymore. And that's what I want to get onto and kind of the main topic of this video, because well, first of all, 2 days ago I was on Twitch and I saw that EVO was happening. I had no idea that EVO was on. I heard that Sony's online EVO was going to be happening in August. I guess maybe it's some sort of like qualifier or something leading up to that event. I don't know. And here's the thing, I really didn't manage to even care enough to look it up. Even though it was supposedly Tekken being played at EVO, it had like 33 viewers, which was interesting. So I went into the room and it had, a high-level match being played and two great commentators. K-Wiz, great player, amazing knowledge about Tekken, and then Spag, of course, great player, as you know, one of my favorite personalities in all of Tekken, but like nobody's watching and the chat is completely dead. Nothing is happening. So I just wanted to see what would happen, and I typed something stupid in the chat like Katarina was on the screen. So I was like, Katarina has brown tits or something like that. I think that might be verbatim what I wrote. And my message got deleted by moderators and then the chat was just empty and dead again. So there's EVO 2021 for you. But I want to talk about the idea that EVO and online tournaments are happening for Tekken, and then about the online mode of Tekken, because yesterday was Saturday, for the first time in quite a long time, life has been really hectic lately. I got a new job, stuff is happening all around me. I haven't had that much time to sit down and actually play a lot of Tekken and video games for, hours on end, which I love to do because, I'm person who plays a lot of video games. What I would do a lot, especially in seasons 2 and 3, is like if I had a day where I knew that I was going to have time, I would go like, okay, I'm going to have a long grinding session of Tekken, and I'm going to have a goal. I'd usually set a goal like I'm going to get Zafina to Tekken God Prime today, and I would sit down and play until I got to that point or failed. But I would listen to music and really get in this in the zone, and that's how I like to play Tekken. So yesterday, for the first time in a while, I was gonna get like really deep into Tekken, and I wanted to get back into it. I had a break with Guilty Gear recently, and I was excited about it. I wake up, I get my coffee, my snacks, my playlist, my music ready. I go online and I wanted to get Elisa to Tekken God Prime was my goal for the day, which, in Season 3 would be like a reasonable thing for me to do in an afternoon. But then I started playing and some weird stuff happened. First of all, I started right away running into obvious cheaters, right? And the really interesting thing, I'm going to show a couple of screenshots here. This is one of the first matches I had against a Paul player. You can see that the player is desyncing here. He's on a bit of a win streak. He's got Emperor rank, which is a pretty high rank after only 400 wins. But this person was an obvious example of the famous one-hit kill hack that we've talked about in previous videos. So the one-hit kill hack, just a refresher if you've never heard about it before. The opponent just needs to hit you one time with any move, and then they can desync, and they have software installed that makes it so that registers as a win for them. So they just have to hit you with any random poke, and then they can leave and they get a win and they can keep ranking up. So that happened. I kept playing, ran into this guy right here, Negan user, who was obviously using the one-hit kill hack as well. You can tell he's on a 12-game win streak right here. He's lost a lot of his health. You can't see because of my camera, but I've only lost like a sliver of health because I was winning, and then he hit me once, so he achieved his goal. He used the one-hit kill hack, and then he moved off. Really interesting. Only a couple of seconds later, I run into the exact same guy again, and in just a tiny, short span of time, even though he's been desyncing and disconnecting, he still has his win streak, and he's, climbing in the ranks, and he keeps going. Another really interesting thing that happened actually was I ran into a Brian user who desynced no matter what happened at the end of the first round. Before the first round, he was just walking forwards, and I managed to, kill him because he didn't block. He didn't try and hit me with any random pokes, but he still desynced, and then when I matched up against him again, he had more wins. So it turns out that there's some sort of new hack or cheat that you can use where you don't even have to hit the opponent. Apparently, you can just have one round happen, and then you can desync and somehow mess with the data to give yourself wins. I also, the really funny one, this was the really cute one, I kept playing against this Miguel guy. I didn't get screenshots or video of him. I really should have, because it was really funny how it was weird that such a high rank player was playing really quite poorly and making very obvious mistakes. And then he would disconnect and desync when he was about to lose the match. So he played the whole match, but right before he lost, he pulled the plug, and then I ran into him again, and he was just, gaining wins. So just somebody who is plugging and then manipulating the save data so that they can keep going. Here's the thing. I ran into him, I think 3 or 4 days ago at the exact same rank, and he was still there doing this thing, which means that we're dealing with a person who is trying to cheat and manipulate save data to get a higher rank, but he's just unable to win against any of the players he's matching up against ever. So even though he's eliminated the possibility of losing, he still can't rank up. But he's going with this, and he's probably working harder than he would if he just put in the time to practice and get good at the game. So I had, multiple 4 or 5 different obvious cheaters that I ran into right away. And then I also played a couple of normal games of Tekken against other players. But what happened in those games is that I had severe connection and netcode issues yesterday. I had really bad lag spikes happening in the middle of combos every single game. This is not like 1 in 5 games, 1 in 3 games, or whatever. Every single game where I wasn't playing against a cheater, I had severe lag issues and netcode issues. And just to verify that it was the netcode and not my connection or my computer or anything, I switched over to Guilty Gear, which worked fine, and to Diablo 3, another game that I play that is famously sensitive to lag and that starts stuttering right away if anything is wrong with the connection. So it was a Tekken issue, and I had, like I said, connection issues in every single match that I played for the entire day, which was so uncomfortable and so strange. So at the end of that day, where I've had like a several hour long grinding session with my favorite game, I'm sitting down with an open heart and a complete willingness to enjoy Tekken, to play this game that I love. I talk shit, but I love this game. Look at my fucking YouTube channel. I made hundreds of videos talking about this game. It's obviously a big deal to me, and I love it deeply, and I'm gonna try and go old school. Forget about the outside world, sit down and just play and enjoy the game. And when that happens, when somebody does that with your game, completely prepared to enjoy it, and the game fails to deliver, I think you are in danger as a fighting game and a franchise, especially when the Nigel Thornberry game is coming out and they're getting that very crucial part right. The other really strange thing about the netcode is, today's Sunday, I played a couple of matches earlier this morning, and I had no connection issues and everything was working fine, which, is good, but it begs the question. This is the really weird and sort of strange thing about Tekken's netcode. It's not that it's consistently bad, it's inconsistent. It morphs and changes. It's good one week or one day and then shitty the next. And it just doesn't manage to deliver a consistent experience. If we knew that Tekken is always going to have this level of like bad netcode or this level of connection issue, but we decide to play it anyway, and to deal with that, then we could adapt to it, this many frames of native lag or whatever. But the fact that it seemed to be solid some in season 2 for a while, and then shitty, and then became better in season 3, and then became shittier again, why is it morphing and changing? And the big question that I want to ask, and the thing that made me want to make this video, the question I want to ask is, why, when this is happening in such a huge issue, the cheating and the netcode, why in the middle of all of that are you trying to organize and failing to successfully organize, as far as I can tell, online tournaments? Does that make sense? To me, it's kind of like your house is on fire and everything is about to burn down, but you're like, but I gotta do the dishes, It's that kind of a weird priority, and it just doesn't really make sense at all to me. I want to say something before I wrap this up. I was watching some Twitch earlier. I kind of go on Twitch to get a sense of what's happening in the Tekken world. I love watching, less known people and people who aren't big names in Tekken content creation, just to get a feel for their vibe, what they're thinking and feeling about the game, what their chat is like. And I was looking at this guy called the Leonidas, like the famous Laconian king, I think the deliverer of the original laconic reply. He spells it with a Y though. Go to his Twitch and subscribe to him. Very good player. He was fucking up Tekken God Omega players, no issue. Very, very good. Thing about him is he's a Maltese player. So he's from the island of Malta. And even though he's definitely good enough that he could make a splash in a big tournament like EVO, he can't compete because it's just a country that isn't on the list of countries that are okay to participate. And then I looked again yesterday, and on his channel, they were running a Maltese local tournament. So I would really encourage you, when you see people like that in these smaller, less commercialized communities doing kind of grassroots tournaments, to enjoy and subscribe to and support that in any way you can, because when tournaments are being created for the benefit of the advertisers who are going to be associated with those tournaments, and not for the sake of the game being enjoyable, solid to play, or fun to watch, then things are getting a little bit weird. Now, I don't think people are going to be playing the Nickelodeon game instead of Tekken a year from now, but it's just a big warning sign and an indication that people need to be careful and just watch what is happening with Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft right now, and try and relate that to fighting games. And I think we sort of see the trend and what is happening. You really cannot just be comfortable with the fact that you have the most famous or most successful franchise, because the things you are not doing, other developers will make sure that they do, and you will look silly by comparison. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys again very soon.